Hello and welcome to TW Retro. Today I want to show you the repair of some of my currently purchased C64s. Let's start right away with the problematic cause. I didn't even take it into the house because it was so dirty. On the top there is the dust of the last decades. And if you look at the side of it, yes, it's pretty dirty. I have bought it in a package and the seller already said to me the computer somehow makes some problems. But it was relatively cheap. The next step is of course that we use an ESD brush and we clean up the dirt at least a bit roughly. Why are we doing this? Dust is a very good conductor of electricity and we definitely don't want the C64 to get more broken the first time when we switch it on as it already is. So, we are in the shower now. I've disassembled the C64 before. Usually it has 1, 2 and 3 screws and then the computer will come apart. The keyboard can be removed from the upper case very easy with a total of 8 screws. I am now just disassembling the keyboard. The best way to do this is to use a keyboard puller. There's a lot of dirt coming out now already. So it definitely makes sense to disassemble it. And that's why the springs unfortunately are already a bit rusted here. You simply attach it, hold it a bit sideways, then you pull. About 10 minutes later we have such beautiful springs, such these ones. But we unfortunately also have springs like this one here, pretty rusty and dirty. I zoom in a bit. There's a lot of dirt under these keys. And that's the reason why I have actually disassembled it now. I've also did this in the shower because now we can rinse off the whole board. Half of the spring still sticks on the board. So next, let's just give some power to the board and see what happens. To do this, I take the instruction from the forum 64. Yes, I know, there are also a few people who say The problem at your board is 100% a defective PLA. Solder it out. It wasn't a PLA? Okay, next desolder the processor. Oh, it wasn't that either? Maybe next is the RAM memory. And at the end of the story you have a complete socket board and the problem is still not fixed. But there are also people who have put together an FAQ, and there I really have to say I'm at home. They wrote down measuring points which you can either use an oscilloscope or first measure with a multimeter, and then you are on the safe side. The problem of course can be the main switch, and I had this a few times before. If the main switch is defective, you won't get any voltages to the chips, and you can unsolder the PLA and solder in a new one. The chip still doesn't work. First of all, I plug in my power adapter to the C64. It is a crazy power supply. I got away from the old power supplies by now because I already had and heard of a lot broken original power supplies. Yeah, then let's measure the voltages. So here actually 5 volts should come out. It's 5.0 volts, that's fine. And here should be 12 volts. It's 12.12 volts. Yeah, perfect. So it doesn't look that bad at all. Next, we'll see if anything gets warm. It doesn't look like that either. And then I would say, let's see if the monitor outputs something. Oh, we've got a picture. Out of memory, error in 0. Could be one of the RAM memories. I would say directly next we will use the Check64. Oh yes, I can already see the next problem. Exactly. There was a bit too much electricity on the board. The board was probably a bit demolished and the soldering does not look good at all. It can work, but it doesn't have to. U9 and U11 is bad? Yes. RAM memory. Definitely RAM memory. I checked the problem in the forum 64 and they recommended to swap out U22. After that I took RAM memory everywhere piggyback, and the one who really showed me different results was the U24. The U24 is a YT RAM memory, and those RAMs are really known for often making problems. And I would say I swap it out now. For desoldering, it is really useful to desolder the whole thing in a circle motion. Then press from the side towards the individual pins so that they get a little bit loosened. Push back and forth a little, to the left and to the right, and then when everything went well, there's a bit of hooking here. Then we can get out the memory totally problem-free. Without a lot of force or something like that. Yes, if it already says YT on it, some say crap part to it. Now let's see if a new RAM memory already fixes the C64. So then a new RAM memory is used, and the next attempt. In the meantime, I've been using my retro chip tester and tested the RAM memory, and yes, it definitely was def. And then I would say let's switch the device back on. Yes! Nice, seems to be working. that looks like a C64 again. After you have the C64 board with the screws fixed in again, it's actually just missing the keyboard. The next thing we do is to place all the springs in tartan. Tartan is a very good rust protection, which is also used among other things in classical cars. It is extremely important that we wear both protective gloves and goggles. The springs that already had missing parts were just sorted out. If the room temperature is below 20 degrees Celsius, the parts have to be in tartan 48 hours. What is now noticeable at the springs, they don't shine as much as they did before. But now they have an anti-oxidation layer on it and they won't rust as fast anymore. We puzzled the keyboard back together. And at the end of the video we have a working C64 again. Summary of the whole thing. When I switched on a C64, I knew straight away that it was the RAM memory. However, I also was aware that the death test of the Check64 is only guessing the defective RAMs, because it isn't able to address the complete RAM memory. In that case here, I was able to solve the problem with another RAM memory that I put piggyback on the other memory. If such an error should occur again, I'll test the C64 with an Ultimax RAM checker. That should probably identify the faulty RAM memory because it is able to address the whole memory. We will see. If you liked the video, just leave a like here and subscribe to my channel. Then you will be informed as soon as there are new videos. Thank you and see you soon. They wrote down measuring points which you can either use an oszilloscope. There was a little bit, RAM memory, definitely RAM memory. They wrote down measuring points. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.